Welcome to episode 27 of the Reconnect Podcast and TV Show. Today, here we are at NJ's Family Restaurant and we have the distinguished guest, Limpho Matlakala. Greetings and welcome to the podcast.
Greetings and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. You said you are the transformational coach. So how is it different from the motivational speaker or any other coach?
Kahola batho ba ngata ba nka ka mokgwa o fapaneng, but the easiest way nka reng batho ba utlwisise ke hore when you motivate a person o ba tshela courage, motivation to plan, to want to do something and to probably really end up doing it, right? But when you transform them, you give them tools that involve a need. Sometimes you help them see the truth in their lives, get them quite uncomfortable so that eventually they shift, because you have ultimately transformed a person's life from point A to point B. Could be in healing, could be reclaiming the people they were previously, and it could be after all and so on. So yeah.
Wow. Yes, so your work, you really transform lots of people's life. The first time when I saw you, it was when you went for St. Stephen's High School this year.
Okay.
Yeah, your sessions are really transformative. When did you start
the work? I started at 17 years old. So I started in high school. Initially, I started the speech. Farewell, second speech, when I had the living students, the staying students. I loved giving inspiration and motivation to battle. But then there was a hunger. I'm not doing enough. One day, I did a correctional facility. So the first time I went there, I felt fulfilled. I don't even remember any of the things I said in there, but those people, they are changing and so on. After some time, murder because of change of behavior. It's motivated into Christianity and so on. And I heard he's a pastor somewhere in Kuti.
Wow.
It's been going on over the years. Obviously, the work counts over. You learn how to package it for different groups and so on. So, yeah.
Wow. And now you make a living with your work. When you start, did people discourage you and be like, how na in that
Funny you say that because yes, I had a friend and one of the examples they tried it and failed. Both Lesotho and South Africa. One of your is a concept different from every other possible concept, because Lesotho are motivational speakers. Now you are fighting and telling us that you're not a motivational speaker. You are a transformational coach. Who is going to buy into that? You know what I mean? And obviously when you grow, batla offer the platform, and then come out and so on. So I leveraged on every platform in Igifu to make sure that I put my best foot forward until now.
So, your educational background, where did you went to the high school? Or maybe like a lot of primary?
Primary, I went to, in fact, crèche. Crèche, ne ke kena Montreal, rona le this crèche tse ya bana mono holong e kgolo. Ke daycare. From there, I Joy to the World, where I actually graduated. Ever from there, standard 1 all the way till standard 7, kaya the Ribengos medium, and then from there, Form A till Form E, because I can decrete. From A to Form E, kaya top high school. Until then, I came to Limpho University to do my BA Honors in Professional Communication.
Wow. Yeah. So apart from Transformational Coach, I went through your LinkedIn profile, so there are some other work that you do. Can you share with the audience what you do?
The umbrella of it, get transformational work. But obviously, the kind of stakeholders I serve, information has to be packaged. Education support. Education support has to do with who create mentorship platforms for bana, and so on. Tutoring platforms, bana other subjects and so on. Psychosocial support, different transformational sessions where everyone demotivated, balance their personal life and this and that. Obviously, there's also an aspect of life skills. And then there's also programs from sometimes platforms of skills exchange, summit, you name it. It has to do with transformational work. They should perform better. How you should show up better as a teacher. Be proud of yourself as a teacher. How long school you should show up better for your studies or pass eventually. You know what I mean? And then companies the profit. The biggest thing get our sales. How do we get your stuff to a place where they are sharp enough to realize the activities in their day-to-day contribute to maximizing the sales and so on. Just internal etiquette as well as external etiquette. It also comes down to the professional communication aspect into school, because I major in public relations. So it's about consulting to understand how can we leverage messages internal and messages outside. As a company, and our message should be solid across and so on. Lift up visibility. So, yeah, I think that's one thing I like about transformational work. It's everywhere. A person can only be transformed by the word. So obviously I create platforms where people can get the word, where I can bring in my friends or other talented, gifted preachers to come through. Yes. And then from there, with NGOs and so on, I work particularly with a foundation, it's on Baradi Foundation. At the moment, its managing director. What we do there is to close the gap, the knowledge gap between Bacha in the rural areas. We have the modules, technology awareness. You do know that people are still not aware of an internet game, how to serve it, and possible opportunities there. They don't know. So we are trying to close that gap. go about such things. Your life skills will always be the heart of it, because at the end of the day, if a person behaves good, feels good, gets the right information, they're absolutely going to transform. They're absolutely going to improve their lives. So the heart of all the work, how can we unleash the best in you? Yes.
Wow, you do lots of
A lot. Yeah.
And you're still not too old.
You think so? I'm 32. I think I'm old.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah, I think I'm old.
Wow. So what inspires you? You inspire lots of people. What about yourself? What inspires you?
I think the biggest thing that inspires me is my personal journey. Different kinds of abuse and being molested. I went through self-hate for some time until I went through counseling. Counseling didn't help me. I went through into therapy. It tried, but I think I gave up on it because for me, the process is slow, very, very slow. And I started seeing a lot of gaps in that system. Rehabilitation on different levels, healing back in Sabato. And I had to test these theories I had got through to say, does this thing work? So when I tried these things, I healed quite fast. And I realized, okay, if people would tell themselves they need every day, then the healing industry, where about body therapy, it wouldn't be necessary. So, seeing how my life transformed after, it was so uncomfortable. You tell yourself whether you're broken. Why are you so rude? Sometimes we are rude and then we want to make it look like you're being a snob. No, you're not a snob. You are mean. You are rude. You need to change. So I used to tell myself some of those things, and the feeling that he left in me, you cannot feel this way again. You need to change your life. So every time I put in that effort to change my life, realizing how liberating it is, how better I relate with people and so on, it became a huge inspiration. Then I started doing it for other people, telling them, obviously I wouldn't trust them the way I trust myself, because I go rough on myself, but with other people, and you realize how quick their lives transform, how the Dofmana body needed or problem and all that. So it's always inspiring to see how it takes accepting the truth every day of your life for your life a quality. A quality person. But besides that, I'm inspired by God. I don't want to lie. That guy is a genius. The whole concept of Christianity, I will call it a concept for now. The whole concept of Christianity is quite inspirational. But however we share religion, religious eye. What we share the relationships eye. Think about it. God just wants to be a dad to all of us and spoil us rotten. You know what I mean? It's as simple as that. But as I want to spoil, but we're exhausted. We don't even want to admit it. But seeing how he still continuously shows up for people, how he tries to make systems easy for us, yet we complicate them. It inspires me every day to say, what are you doing per day to help people realize so yeah.
Have you ever considered being a priest or a pastor or a religious teacher?
Being a pastor or preacher or it's a calling. People are called into it. It's not what you wake up one day and decide to listen to it. Well, I've seen that people do it. Like they wake up and decide, you know what? You forget about what I call, you know. But you see, the problem is there will always be that difference between those who are called and those who called themselves. You understand? Yes, I have been told all my life what Mwaka was quite religious and a lot of things in religion are more. So she would tell me when you're called to preach. Everywhere I go, what am I doing? Such that my childhood friends, but I'm a pizza bishop. It was a nickname, but and then till today, there's people who say, whoever it's a Bible school. But people need to understand how being in ministry, especially the ministry of Jesus Christ, doesn't only have to do with I'm already in ministry. I'm already serving as a servant in the ministry. But the kind of ministry I am in has your pulpit ministry. Get street ministry. Street ministry or incubatory ministry. When I say incubatory, an ordinary person as they fall in love with spaces I create. Say, for example, we have this movement, it's Jesus Beyond My Church. People come, they just go there because it's so fun. There's music, the word is vibrant, and then when you get to that place, something in you. Maybe the first time you come, but what if this Jesus thing is real, But no, it's not real. That is the first step. And then you come the second time, then you're like, I felt something. Because and being impacted by the Holy Spirit doesn't necessarily mean you look like you have seizures and things. No, that's no. It's just that warm feeling where you say, I'm in a good place. Then you come for the third time and then you start literally hearing things like how Mamed say the word, it is so feel like I'm khofapane, and then you start following some processes. That on its own is winning your soul. It's not saying no. It's saying accept the word, see, just try it, and then after you try it, maybe you will want a space you call your church home. So you've been incubated till you figure things out until you can choose a church you want to go to, So I think I'm already in ministry, just that I don't know where I call it. Yeah.
Wow. Since you do a lot of transformative work, what can you say to viewers who are watching who, let's say, get dealing school, they are trying to figure out waiting varsity or varsity, but how shona waiting what another career life.
Well, for those who want to pursue varsity, this template to some to figure out what they should do. I say what they should do, not what they're yeah, because it like a whole bunch of kind of thing. You think you know yourself, but you don't. In that template, in a late into the 6, the first thing, what are you passionate about? Secondly, the hobbies are how on a day-to-day thing. School pass subject to the thing. Come home at ease. Only subject for you to pass or hustle you know. But there's also those ones that you know you're not getting less than 76. You know what I'm saying? And what's happy na heno o potapoto ke batho elo ke ba di career di feng haholo. And then if you what's happy na information on leona you tsebisitse ho di career di feng. All these things are influencing factors for a lot of people. Get some shala. I can't have a heno or potapoto my teacher, or so you know, I can't have your cultivate teacher. No. But what is your passion? You get what I mean? You're thinking, you know what? I want to be and I get these guys who go to the moon and back. Yes, an astronaut. But here's a big question. How accessible is the information about astronauts in Lesotho? What is the likelihood that you can make it to maybe Scholars Havon, sitting anywhere, secretly in the southern Sahara of Africa, this country itself, Lesotho. If then has here Lesotho Mona say maybe you have to get it, say in Germany, are there possibilities that you can get in? Because I'm not trying to pump up the kind of motivation or ceiling in terms of accessing the right tools and information. So, for example, you're passionate about caretaking, how to you're always willing to help out and things like that. Possibly to go, you'd want to be a nurse or a doctor or so. Let's talk about being a doctor. Is there information about that? Yes, there is. Is there sponsorship for that? Yes, there is. What there's Cuba, there's Zimbabwe, there's, you know what I'm saying. Okay, what platforms can you possibly log into to access some of these opportunities? Then have a detail. It says you are likely to do this thing. Perhaps I need to bridge first, then it will access 1, 2, 3, and so on. So I would say they should call for that. But for those who don't want to go to school, I'll be honest. If school, make sure you are extraordinarily talented to beat the market out there for whatever you'll be offering in exchange for money. I feel like that is because here's what people who are not educated have a competitive advantage in anything. Sometimes you are talented, but how are you going to penetrate the market? Because education enriches outlook. It enriches the way you perceive things, such that you're able to note, observe opportunities. If you're not educated, you think, good. Negative example this other time, Banam, there's forex, there's this. So if like enter note 50 rand, if like what do you see over this note? Airtime. Like they said all these lame things you can think about. Someone said 50 rand but an educated person sees the beginning of opportunity. I remember there's this guy who started his cap business ka 10 rand. Ka 10 rand fela ka di pente. I bear out there, people bought it for $50. Ka 50 rand I get a depende. This time between 15 rand and 20 rand. I read KPC, I bear on social media this time. But by bona, Mutimo I read chatting at 50 rand. Next thing, really well customized and everything. Motia tour guide, it's a tourist from Germany. How if you come and when you have tourists coming from that far, how's it more extra 50 rand? Who is there 200? And they're going to buy them because of the currency advantage. So an educated person, education it closer something. for you to see beyond things. However, it puts value to things.
So what can you say to parents like Horana Bagata Deisa, Banawana, Juan, Nova up to the world today?
I think one of the biggest problems is that parents are okay with not knowing, and that is troubling. But they are okay saying, doesn't I get to alone? I can't, you know what it's about. And how that on its own should be motivation for my research. Because how do you support wana aphelang dinakong tse fetang ka pele tje fela wena o sa tsebe letho ko ntse you're setting up ngwana eno hore a iphedisa kapa ikgodisa o ntse le teng. So I would say parents, it's very important that you learn. Learning kana go tse ding atsa ke go ya on TikTok and following the right people. Just listen. You go on YouTube. We share these sessions are positive parenting. We share these sessions are mental health. We share these sessions are manali batswadi being involved in their children's education. Because but so you must say na ka bo pilato. Ba sia bana skolo ever have matsolo they continue their lives like those kids never exist. You know what I mean? Such that bana ba say my teacher fellow batswadi are missing out on very important stages of development and so on. So I would say we cannot be comfortable not knowing. We cannot be comfortable saying no, you cannot be comfortably saying that. You have to be quite uncomfortable. You have to sit down, have conversations with your kids so that because how these are very frustrated kids who don't feel like they have support in anything. They live independent from them. And also someone has decided to live independent from you, they are likely to go back.
Can you walk us through your typical day in life?
Okay, let's start with a Sunday. Sundays I usually wake up at 6:30, 7. I can say in the living room. There's a lot of sun there. And then update my diary. I'll take a bath, prepare myself for church. I'll be there from 10 till around 12 or 1. We typically have lunch together with my friends on Sundays. We get high. I'll catch up on whatever I need to catch up on in terms of the conversation, like watching people have conversations. There's a lot that you learn there. I can set up some photo channel, maybe sermons, lectures or workshops. I'll do that till sometimes. But especially Arabic, Papama usually begins at 5 and 6. Intentional meditation where I think about myself to say, how am I doing? Am I still showing up the right way? Where am I slacking? Why did I get mad at that girl? Maybe, trying to look into myself the gift for a guy and so on. And then later on, I'll have my morning prayer and then have affirmations. After affirmations, I'll wake up, go wash my face. If it's not from home, because I have my office at home, I'll go wash my face, get my teeth clean, and then get a fast day after breakfast, start doing some work. But later, 12ish, then I'll take like a full bath. I'll cook. or order in if then, and then from there it will have a lot of maybe virtual counseling and so on. Kind of considering I say virtual counseling, maybe I have a client coming over for that and so on. But there are days I have clients from Monday to Monday. It looks 2 weeks. This time, 2 full weeks. Every single day, I would meet someone or people. The following day, I have one person. Next thing, I'm back at some different school. The whole time. I wake up, go for get routine. Then you could routine. Get pumala fella the following day, same time, get but and so on. But I think this is what I prayed for, so I'm fine.
So do you believe there is work-life balance, and how do you balance it?
If I wanted to sound cheesy, I would say there's work-life balance, but I want to tell you the truth, there's nothing like that. In life, you choose dintho tsa hao. Personally, I don't want to have ngwana. You know. So that has its own T's and C's. You understand? The same way a person abatlang ngwana, abatlang hoba le molekane, le yone na le T's and C's tsa yona. If you want to go hard as an ambitious person, because if then I travel so much, I am hardly home. Every time I get 6 or 7, my 8 months. Imagine I had a partner. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So there is nothing called a work and a life balance. It's about to try and find a schedule to cater for because we have to categorize things like the priority at all. For example, mothemong anang le bongwana a ka ke tlame go jwa ka ba bang hoseng ke even nna etsa ngwana ka scafftin la ke ke nka khona mo tropa sekolo but scafftin sona se tsegeng, so there's no balance. Honestly, there isn't. It's about knowing what you can prioritize, number one. Number two, it's about building a system of some sort or a routine that works for you, that caters for wow. Yes.
You mentioned being an ambitious person. What are you looking forward to work on in the coming years?
Okay. Well, you're exciting me. Okay. Obviously, I'm a social entrepreneur, and while I am passionate about the well-being of people and unleashing the best in them, there's also that business side of certain things as well. You cannot make business out of everything. So, with Baradi Foundation, I'm very excited for it. It's an NGO anyway. I'm very excited for it because I cannot wait to see the potential. Somehow the system is about Nahana, a boy who is about 15 years old, or even 18 or 21, has a hona school because the chelete ke bothata maybe ntlong kapo o hole haholo o motseng le o hole haholo le hore aka tsamaya ka maoto ke na school. Now this person ba ruta ka technology, ba ruta ka adding value dintho tsa bona tse sentse ba di tsa culture. I would take life skills, I would take maybe how to read and write, I would take self-care and health awareness, you name it. On information, it will model a solid man with time. And that is going to contribute to humanity in a good way. Those are some of the things I look forward to. So that is all. We're going to make centers in different rural areas. And since I invite a lot of people who want to partner in that work we're going to do, because it's not even a funded work. Literally from our wisdom and pockets. So obviously. So the center and then habadisana bakato kwala matsi but wo re kenka pene le exercise ke asente for those girls too very long they had to drop out basically vulnerable to early child marriage, basically those unwanted pregnancies and so on and so forth. Imagine what happens how of money the right information. It says they become the kind of women they've always wanted to become. And but it's a lot of development work in the local communities and so on and so forth. Well, what we are trying to do right now is to transform Lesotho from what it was to what it should be, bit by bit, center by center, and so on. So that is the biggest thing I look forward to. But also, what I look forward to at the moment is to see the real impact, just beyond my church. Seeing how many people to think clearly, soberly, to fetch their own lives, to go back to hopeful, seeing how people transform for better. It's so those are some of the things I look forward to. Yes.
Do you think one day you'll go into politics?
Oh no, never. But I get into high school debate. So I loved politics a lot, and Roman applied the law. Regular accepted, admitted, but I like law, professional communication, the flexibility. Professional communication it is. Politics because I don't think it's anything I'm planning. I wouldn't want to be batoba in the parliament or anything that has to do with government entities, they controlling and so on and so forth. I would want to be an individual and only influence to give advice to those who are designated for such. If I was to step into politics, I could give them a minister. I'd rather be how to work on how to so obviously when you have money and influence to more paid yes, so I would rather keep being the person I am so that I keynote for these gatherings to say, hey, I would rather be the voice of the people to them, not to be part of them. No. Yeah.
So do you want to transform just Lesotho after some time? You want to go into other African countries?
The easiest way you see that you are growing is if you are able to scale up in a sustainable way. It says we are starting here, and we will have perhaps a ripple effect where we start here and then ripples will keep growing and so on. But 2017, when I wrote my vision down, I called myself a global speaker. So I am hopeful to God that it ends up being that. Yet at the same time, I do not want to pressure myself by the thought, because it leads a hore mona mo kileng teng ke halo tse fela if I don't thoroughly do the work. Because for me, I believe real impact, the fruits. Someone saw until the fruits, it doesn't make sense then why we should jump from one place to another and so on. That way, I say, the truth in the actual intention of the work, and that is why I want to be rooted in the truth. Yes.
Wow. What advice can you say to the stakeholders, the NGO, the whole, the government officially, like the decision makers, hore na o ka beletsa jwang hore ba leke hore mosebetsi o lo etsang le batho ba bang ba etsang mosebetsi o tshwanang le lona hore o etsahale ka pelenyana.
Ka gore ntho nna ke e boneng naheng ena ya heso ke hore ge setjhaba se sa tsotelleng information, and it is in the information we are able to be in constant formation. We cannot be formed the right way if we don't have the right information, and that is where we miss it. And until people understand value in the information, consideration, support. If who in terms of body products, trading, listen, why? Because it's tangible, it's a good PR. But if we had to support a person who has wisdom, a person whose voice can move mountains and change, outlook to what person at the time, challenge. It's not funny. So I think the biggest thing is, I wish they are educated enough to realize how it is in the information, in the quality of information, a lot of things can fall into place. To take things seriously, how do you feel about the right information who looks like information. As an example, it's a very swag. How na le baka la hore ha e be I earned 2.5. Ebe ke fumana go se ke on very easy platform. Ebe next thing ke fumana ke kena dipotitsing ke zamhlala. Ebe se ke fumana mosebetsi o tlo mfa say 25,000. You want to change it? Ebe ha ke potisi counseling pele. Because rapid change in a monyetla ho aha hooligans ka go batho. Information comes from that very base fela ha batho tse ding. Ha ona lebaka la hore ntho tsa manang le tlhabollo, mental health, taba tsa manang le giving, shining light on people, bo ba bitsang the change agent like you are doing right now. If such things had fumane platform, if need for a platform hand, you need to have motivation to that person I did how not true so. Imagine I'm watching, like I was telling you, I need to see through some episodes. I was watching some episodes and I'm listening to hands up and I'm like, I've been sitting. Here's what I've been looking for. You know what I'm saying? Imagine Batwang at and they feel the exact same way. It says likelihood So I think the biggest thing is, can we see value in information? Can we understand how it is through, supporting platforms that give good and quality information that a lot of things will change. The economy will change, the way we approach things will change. Seriously. What's a house na information about it? Very valuable. It's valuable. So they don't invest in the youth, and they don't understand that the youth at the moment is so smart. That group of people is super smart. I can tell you that. I can tell you that.
Wow. Thank you so much for being on the Reconnect Podcast and TV Show. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
Well, I'm really grateful for the opportunity, and I just want to congratulate you for taking that bold step. Also, these things I'm thinking, this is things I've been looking for every day. Because there's a lot of content I would want to share as well, and seeing someone do what I've been postponing, So I am really grateful and congratulations that you took this step, and I believe that more people will definitely connect with the information that you're giving, so that they reconnect with themselves, and then a major transformation is bound to happen. Please see value in what you're doing. Don't stop. You're doing the Lord's work. You definitely are, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.